Nora Speaks is a weekly podcast that tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community. With show topics such as youth empowerment, education, women's impact, and civic engagement, Nora Speaks challenges the listener to not only join the movement, but be the movement. On the show, you'll learn from insightful guests who have demonstrated capacity in these fields and more, and I'm your host, Nora Muhammad. Welcome to the show. Welcome to episode 144 of the Nora Speaks podcast, and I am your host, Nora Muhammad. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the podcast. I'm grateful to have you back with me. It's always exciting to be recording another episode in the Nora Speaks studios. It's a privilege and a pleasure for me, really, to have your time and attention because I know how valuable it is. And so for those who listened to the last episode and just talking about juvenile justice, I hope that you did share the episode and have conversations about the content. I've really gotten a lot of great feedback from people who are in some way connected to the juvenile justice system, worked in the juvenile justice system. And so many people have said that the conversation was spot on in talking about how we must look at juvenile justice at the home level, at the community level, and what we're doing before our children become delinquent, before our children start skipping schools, and before they have contact with law enforcement. And there's so much that we can do. So I want to thank everyone who commented on that episode, who gave me their feedback. I really appreciate you. And for those who listened and may not have shared, I encourage you to share that episode and other episodes of the Nora Speaks podcast, because this is really a conversation for our community. This show is a service to our community, and I believe that the messages that are shared here are those issues and conversations that we must have, as I always say, to tug on the soul and consciousness of the Black community. And as we are advancing into this week's episode 144, this episode is titled No Time for Neutrality. No time for neutrality. So we all know what it means to be neutral. We are not going anywhere. We're standing still, essentially. We're not going forward. We're not going back. And in this case specifically, when I use the word neutrality, I'm talking about those of us who have not picked our team, if you will, those who have remained unaffiliated, uncommitted, inactive. And so let me be a little bit more specific. In the work that I do in the community, I see many people who come to meetings, who come to conferences to talk about problems, to talk about some of the breakdowns that we have in the communications, in education, in public health and public policy, juvenile justice. You know, I see a lot of folks who show up with their ideas on their papers and their folders and in their notebooks, but when they're called to join up with an organization, with a group who is actively working and engaged already, dealing with the issues and the problems that that person has addressed, they don't participate. They don't show up. They don't join. But when the next meeting comes around, here they are again. And so this is what I'm talking about. Those of us who will not commit ourselves to doing the work, those who stay kind of on the sidelines and being those folks who are in the stands and in the crowds who are shouting, but they're not getting down on the field or on the court or in the real life action that those who are engaged to create the changes and to create the outcomes or to create new outcomes, folks do not get engaged. And so that's what I mean when I say some of us are neutral. And at such a time as this, where we are facing so many crises within our own communities, within our neighborhoods, within our own families, we have no time to be neutral. You know, I think about those of us who consider themselves pro-Black, who consider themselves Pan-Africanists, who consider themselves conscious, those in that conscious community have not joined on or formed organizations to get busy doing real work. These people can quote Frederick Douglass, they can quote Malcolm X, they can quote Fannie Lou Hamer. They wear very clever and creative t-shirts and hats, and they hashtag on social media, but they're not doing the work. So we pump our fist to the Black talk, but we are not committing ourselves to the Black work. And so we have folks that want to eat off the plate, if you will, but they don't want to contribute. And so I'm going to share why having this personality, having this sideline persona is just not working. So again, when I'm talking about folks who are neutral, they're people who are just unaffiliated. They don't want to pick a side, and they're for everyone. Have you met someone that's for everyone? That is, and I'm not just talking about someone that's friendly or friends with everyone, but we can't agree with everybody. There has to be someone that you are more inclined to. There has to be some group, some work that you are more inclined to. We can't just stand in the middle and not do anything, but we tiptoe over here to the right and talk to that group. We tiptoe over here to the left and we talk to that group. And then we tip forward and we get with that group. And then we tip backwards and we get with that group. But we're not committing our actions, our energies, and our resources to anyone or any group or any body or any organization in particular. And so first I'll say, there's a saying, as you know, I'm Muslim, there's a saying in the Holy Quran, and it talks about, in this great book, being neither this nor that. And that's how I see folks who are neutral. They're neither this nor that. You don't know what group they're a part of. You don't know what exactly they stand for, but they're always around. So this going from this to that and going from this to that, it doesn't allow us to focus. Now, when we commit to an organization, to a cause, to work, then that commitment helps us focus, and we can then establish what our priorities are. And I think of it like being in college and not choosing a major, but we like art classes, and we like phys ed classes, and we like science classes, and we like social science classes, and we like anatomy classes, and we like psychology classes, and I like history classes, and I'll take some math classes. Okay, great. But what is your major? At some point, even in college, we have to declare a major. Certainly, you can take all of the electives that you want, but you're not going to be able to graduate until you and I fulfill the requirements of our major course of study, and we must commit to it. If we just take classes that are electives because we have an interest in that, then we're not going to get the required classes that we need for us to finally graduate. And that is so many of our people. We go from this to that, from that to this, and we do not commit. And so we know a little about a lot, but we don't know a lot about a little. And we're ineffective in that way. We cannot graduate in that way. Secondly, when we remain non-committal, when we are neutral, we're avoiding accountability. And character is born from responsibility. You know, imagine if someone wants to stay at your house, but they want to sleep on the couch. And although they can, they decline to go get a household of their own. But they want you or me to do the heavy lift of sustaining and maintaining a household so that they can have a couch to sleep on. But they do not commit to going and getting their own place to live. You're avoiding accountability. And when we avoid accountability, when we are not responsible, then we're hindering our own character growth. Thirdly, it's being lazy. It's being lazy, going from this to that, avoiding accountability. We are being a leech, right? So we want the benefits of the host, but we don't want any contributing efforts that's required of the membership. We want the benefits of the team, but we don't want to join the team and put in the work because we don't want to sacrifice anything from ourselves. So we want to receive, but we don't want to give. That's being lazy. And being lazy gets us nowhere. And the fourth thing I'll say about this is it's being wishy-washy, right? Nobody likes a wishy-washy person. We say, look, make a decision. Make a decision. Even if you find later it is the wrong decision, you can make a different decision, but you got to come on and make a decision. And when people are wishy-washy, they keep you at a distance, right? Or they keep their own distance. They kind of come around, but they don't want to get too involved, right? They don't want to give too much. Just in case something goes wrong, right? So they don't really want to commit, but they want to be around. They want some of the enjoyment. But when somebody says, okay, now we need to contribute, open up your purse, go in your pockets, they disappear on you. When they say, okay, it's time to go to work, let's roll up our sleeves, grab a hammer, grab a shovel, they disappear on us, right? That's a wishy-washy person. So when you are dedicated, when you and I are committed, then we take ownership of the group. We become ambassadors for the organization. We become a proponent, a defender of the team. But if we're wishy-washy, we're undependable. Nobody can rely on us. We want the benefits, right? So we want the clout of being around the fraternity or sorority, but we don't want the discipline, right, of being online. We don't want the discipline of the organization that requires us to pay dues, but we want to hang around and get the benefits of the organization as long as nothing is coming out of our pockets, as long as nothing is required of us, of our time and of our energy, right? So nothing is good about being a wishy-washy person. There's nothing good about being a lazy leech-like person. There's nothing good about avoiding accountability. And there's nothing good by being unfocused. It is no time for us to be neutral in such a time as this. And so, as I close, I'll say it's not so much that the group is in such need of you, because workers are going to work. Producers are still going to produce. So it's not so much that I'm saying this because a group needs you so badly, but we need the group. We need the organization, right? We need to be able to be accountable. We have to make a decision, right? We have to grow up and be responsible. We need to have character development, and that comes from us taking decisive action and settling ourselves down. I have to say, otherwise, it's hard to take us seriously. And if you've been in college like I've been in college, you remember those people that majored in nothing but studied everything. They're all over the place. You can't depend on them. They're talking a lot. They know a lot. They know a little about a lot, but they don't know a lot about a little. And just like any other requirement, we have to pick a major. We have to settle down to a decision. We can't always stay in the middle. You're not useful in the middle. Make a commitment. Make a decision. Come on and get with it. Otherwise, time is just passing us by and we remain underdeveloped in our personhood because we just won't grow up and make a decision, right? Isn't this what we tell our young people? Grow up, make a decision, go out there and choose a path. It may not be your forever path, but you got to choose something. You can't stay on the couch. You can't stay in the basement. You can't stay in your bedroom saying, I'm trying to figure it out and not having went in one direction or another. So I encourage you, make a decision. No time for neutrality. It's time for us to get on with it and make a choice. We can't keep eating off of the plate of others who are putting in the time, putting in the work, putting in the sacrifice. But we won't do the same. That's just unfair. I'm interested. What do you think? Have you seen anyone like this? Were you yourself like this? Or do you disagree? I'd be interested in any comment, anything that you would like to share, any question about this. But I encourage you, make a decision. Whatever it is that's in front of you, make a decision. Settle down. Choose a team. Commit to something, and you will be better off for it. I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Until next time, stay in peace. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Be on the lookout for a new episode coming at you fresh next week. And as always, if you want to learn more about me and the work that I do, visit my website, noramahammed.com. Or if you have a listener question, email me at info@noraspeaks.com. You can also follow the Nora Speaks podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nora Speaks Podcast. I'll be sure to include links in the show notes. If this show has value to you, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with family and friends. And be sure to check out previous episodes. And remember, don't just join the movement, be the movement. Stay in peace.